Okay, with Andrew Proctor, Lost Dreams is the short film played at the Experimental Film Festival. It is 10 minutes long, and it's a film about dreams, and it's very much experimental in nature. But I love the blog interview you talked about the origin story about how you kind of made this film. Do you want to talk about how you got this film made?
Sure. In 2009, I got an email. I still don't know from who, inviting me to send a film to a festival in Switzerland. And I didn't have a film. So I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? And then a friend of mine, John Prevedini, sent me his music Lost Days, and I fell asleep with the music, and it inspired a movie based on dreams and consumption. And that was the beginning of the film. And I started, my father, when I was growing up, I went to Italy because neither of my parents are Italian, but they met in Italy. And my father used to be, he's retired now, a professor of Italian at Connecticut College. And my mom is an artist. And so they would take us in the summer to Italy. And in the year 2000, 2001, we lived in Rome. And so a lot of the home movie footage is basically was shot then on Sony High 8. So my
Okay.
dad for years was asking me to do something with the home movie footage. So I took it up to the Connecticut College campus and started using it. And then I asked my mom if I could film her doing her pastels. And that's the origins of Lost Dreams. So
You said you made it in 2009. You had the email, but it said that you just completed it this year.
yes, I did. It took me 15 years to figure out how to finish it because at the same time, my good friend Eric Scott, who plays the narrator slash actor, asked me to film him doing some performances of Shakespeare. And so I took those performances and put them in to the film, and that became kind of the middle section. And I said to my mom, well, it's done. And she said to me, it's not exactly a film. And so I didn't really have a beginning, and I had an idea of an ending, which was Eric doing Oh for a Muse of Fire from Henry V. And I worked on it for a little bit more, and every year I would open up the Final Cut Pro project. And then in 2020, I decided to start again during the pandemic, and I came up with this intro of political moments and TV ads and other things. And I sent it to my father, and I was like, oh, this might be a good intro. And he said, this is not good. So I took a break. I also got hired for a couple of TV shows. And then in 2022, I had a really stressful day on a television show. And all I could think of was TV in the desert. And I came home and started editing. And that became the introduction to Lost Dreams. And then it got completed this spring. So,
So
yeah.
the image in the beginning of the film with the old TV in the desert, and you kind of we're kind of as we're moving into it, and we're seeing images on the television. Really, well, it's a very effective scene. It kind of captures the audience's emotions because we all believe, like whether we like it or not, we all have a connection to television, right? So devices in whatever way. So and there's a historical aspect to having the TV that you had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I mean, it's also been our mass communication since World War II, and
yeah.
it's the way that advertisement in the United States and political messages come through. So I figured that I see the desert as kind of the future of if we don't change our ways based on consumption and greed, we could end up in a wasteland of the desert with, if aliens came down, they might find a television as our time capsule. And so hopefully we don't end up in that situation. So,
Well, I guess we live in interesting times. So that's what they all
sure.
say, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm curious, what do you do in television?
I work as an assistant editor on mainly on unscripted TV shows right now, and I'm hoping to transfer into much more scripted oriented work.
Are you allowed to say what TV show you're working on when you had the frustrating day?
No. It was a very frustrating show, and for a good friend who was involved in that show, I will not say what show it was.
Okay, but it's still around. Like, is it still around?
It's still, yeah.
Okay. I've been fortunate enough to talk to people who do editing on reality shows, and I've heard great things, and I've heard not so great things. So,
It can be very, very frustrating at times. So,
yeah.
that's in the past. So it's all good.
Okay, so then tell me about the sequence that you did in during COVID about the political and the ads. Is that something that you edited together that you can use for another film? Because that seems interesting, even though your dad didn't
Um,
think so.
Probably not. It was
Okay,
kind of much more of me just kind of testing the waters.
gotcha.
And years ago, in college, I made a documentary on professional wrestling with found footage, and I took professional wrestlers kind of doing their promo thing and made it look like they were talking to each other. So I was hoping maybe I could achieve the same effect, and it didn't really work, as my father pointed out. So
How did the wrestling movie work? Did that work out?
it was just a good exercise. So,
The, are you a wrestling fan or?
not really. I just
Oh,
thought it would be kind of a fun thing to do. So
that seems interesting. Like, so you had like The Rock and like talking to somebody else, or
yeah, pretty much it was like, I think it was Hulk Hogan and somebody else were just like, the way I cut it, they were just having a conversation. And so it was just about the history of pro wrestling.
oh, they're just like they're cutting their promos, and you're kind of taking
Yeah.
stealing the footage from the promos, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because they say some crazy things in their promos,
They do.
especially Hulk Hogan back in the day when he used to get
Yeah.
all fired up, right,
Yeah.
before his match,
Yeah. He did.
eating his vitamins and saying his prayers, right?
Yeah.
24-inch pythons. So I'm just remembering my childhood. So okay, so tell me about so you had the pastel with your that's your mom's hands, I guess. Your mom's
Yeah. It was
drawing,
my
okay.
mom's hands.
And
So
so dreams are fascinating. I don't think that there's been a true great movie about dreams, even though we spend a third of our life doing this, right? Because
yeah, I think the dream aspect of it kind of comes from, in college, I took an experimental film course,
yeah,
and we were showing off our projects one time, and a professor, the professor and a fellow student, were having a conversation about the student's film, Tristan Husby's film, which was a letter coming out of a printer, and he filmed it. And the professor was saying, "Oh, when we sleep, we actually edit our dreams. Like your subconscious chooses what they want to see." And so I was like, "Oh, that's a really interesting idea." So that was kind of the basis a little bit for dreams. And also, our subconsciouses will send us messages, as Freud pointed out, and the ancients believe you figure out a lot from your
predict your
dreams.
future.
Yeah, predict your future.
Yeah. There's different theories, but yeah, that people have, right? So what's your theory about dreams?
That they predict our future.
No, no, you said the ancients believe that you can predict the future.
Yeah.
Freud's about the psychological problems that we have. We can analyze our dreams and kind of figure out our how fucked up we are, right?
Yeah.
And then Native Americans, they have their own kind of theory as well, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So what's your
I
personal theory?
I've always had really crazy dreams. I I don't know. I think our dreams, we have conversations with ourselves, and we can predict our futures, and we figure stuff out in our dreams. Like there's messages that come through in our subconscious of our desires and wishes and
Our
hope.
insecurities, our fears.
Insecurities definitely come through. Yeah. So, you can figure out a lot about yourself from your dreams.
Yeah, I no, I truly believe it. I wish that I was more conscious of like when I wake up, like what dreamt about, right? So
Yeah. I wish I had kept a dream diary. For some reason, I could easily remember certain dreams. much more elaborate. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's something, obviously there's something here, right? So 15 years later, obviously you're doing other things, but 15 years later, you could submit that film to the Swiss Festival, I guess.
yeah. I would hope to probably the next winter. So it
Is
took
it still
16
around?
years. Yeah, yeah. It's in Switzerland. Yeah.
And
So
then you brought back your narrator, Eric, finish it
yes,
off,
yes.
or
He did. He did Ozymandias by Shelley, and then he did the Dante section, and then he updated with my sound designer Kato. She convinced him to update certain aspects of the middle section, which is the original section of the movie, because it wasn't recorded well
yeah.
audio. So yeah, yeah, Eric came back and did a lot. So yeah.
And Kato Zane was your sound person, right?
Kato Zane was she's a very talented it's always a privilege to work with her. She's a sound genius. Actually, I have a funny story about her. We all went to college together,
Okay.
and the original sound designer for Lost Dreams when I first did the movie was Kato, and I hadn't ever worked with a sound designer before. So when I got back the what she had done, which was totally correct, I was like, oh no, she didn't do it right. And I decided to send in the original audio, which wasn't wise because you should always have good audio with film because it's 70% of your movie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been working with her for about 15 years, so it's definitely
Yeah,
very.
there's a lot of talent there. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of stuff she did was really good. Like in the Tomorrow section, she added in the repetitiveness, and I was on her, like we would meet once a week on Zoom, and I kept on asking her if we could, like, when it all falls apart in the desert, you hear this loud kind of weird sound like the explosion, and she spent weeks on the explosion, and I was like, oh, this sounds perfect. Like it took a lot of weeks. And then also she when the coins become like the war zone, she added in this like this loud like it almost sounds like somebody in a lot of pain, this really painful scream. And I would say to her, like, I don't think it's right yet. And then she sent it back to me and it was perfect. I was like, oh my God, this sounds really painful. And she's like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to sound.
so
So
she must like working with you then.
yeah, yeah, it's good times. Yeah,
Good times.
yeah.
So are you making another film or
I have a couple of ideas floating in my head. We'll see how this festival run goes. I would like to make more films. I have one idea for a comedy, which is about a person who ends up working for the mafia to try to finish his movie, and he becomes a courier for stolen goods from World War II. And then I have another idea for a film, which is probably going to be a feature about a brother who saved his sister from a drug addiction. So hopefully I can make those.
yeah,
But
is filmmaking something you want to do or
yeah, yeah. I mean, I enjoy working in post production. I would like to be able to make more films. I used to do more films uh, back like 10 years ago, but whenever you're working in the industry, there's not as much, as much free time. So yeah,
I know you're working long crazy hours, right?
yeah, like 12, 16 hours. So it's kind of
Eh,
difficult.
There's deadlines in the TV world.
Yeah, there are.
And in the reality world, there's lots of footage to go through too, right?
Yeah,
Lots of
yeah, yeah,
cameras are being shot.
yeah. We need multiple angles and we need this all grouped.
And we got to tell a story, right? So
Yeah, got to figure out the story, got to find it.
gotta find the story, right? So we gotta find with 24 hours ever shot, we gotta find 5 minutes of a story, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah. It's crazy. It's never a dull moment in that world. So
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's a formula that's attached, though. You gotta work within the formula that's been created for the show, I guess, right?
Yeah, they also have writers, and they also have the producers know where they want to go. Like
Yeah,
I've always worked on more like car shows and weird UFO shows, and they always have a theme, and then they eventually figure out like what they want people to say.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, listen, man. It's like I know it's experimental, so it's a hard to find that kind of mainstream audience, but I think you even referenced that in the feedback. Sorry, in the blog interview. But what did you think about the feedback that we sent you?
I thought it was great. I was really, really happy. I was a little bit nervous. I didn't know if I didn't know how people were going to react. I mean, experimental is doesn't have a huge
Yeah,
audience.
yeah,
Even though if you actually look at interviews with really famous directors and editors and cinematographers, they all reference the works of Stan Brakhage and Maya Deren, and especially editors. But I was really happy with the feedback, and I was also really happy when somebody said the movie's very punk. So I take that with pride.
that's good. Well, then a lot of these directors kind of worked on music videos too, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
in which are experimental in nature. So
sure.
yeah,
They did. Yeah.
they
So
just someone just worked within the Hollywood another formula, right? So another
yeah.
structure that's in place.
Yeah, I actually sent the movie to a really good editor friend, and he said to me, "Well, most of us editors really want to be able to be doing experimental stuff because editing, like it's I montages, those were kind of the very first movies, and so I mean, a lot of people who work in the industry are typically into more surreal stuff. So
Yeah. So I know lots of people are going to be watching this on YouTube, some on audio, but over your left shoulder, it seems like you have a pretty extensive film collection there.
yes, yes, I do.
Oh yeah, and your chair moved, it's even more, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's organized by a certain way. The
it's like I
top
see
row,
Casablanca, right? So
yeah, yeah. Well, gotta have the origins of cinema there. So, that the top row is by director or auteur, and then the next row is by year, and then those are foreign films, and up there is experimental works. So, yeah,
how many do
uh,
you have?
I don't know. I really, really love movies. I live near three movie theaters, so it's great.
Oh, like kind of like old style movie theaters or
Yeah, this movie theaters. There's a Lemley, and then there's a Look Cinemas, and then there's an AMC in the mall.
gotcha. What's the
Yeah.
last movie you saw at the movie theater?
I saw the new Yorgos. He did Poor Things. I saw that yesterday. A new one by him. I thought it was pretty good. I prefer Poor Things. I thought Emma Stone was phenomenal.
Gotcha. So it's a good
Yeah.
movie then?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, it's a really comedic. So I thought it was interesting. And then I also saw that Moon movie with Scarlett Johansson. And
The astronaut movie.
yeah, the astronaut movie. Yeah, it's okay. It's
It's
pretty good.
okay.
Yeah. It's not one of my highly recommended movies, but it's watchable. So it's good. Yeah. Trying to think what else I've seen in theaters recently. But yeah. So it's good
Gotcha.
movies. Yeah.
So the kinds of kindness, that's what you watched, right?
Yeah. Kinds
Okay,
of kind.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So you did the lobster, right? Which is a good movie.
Yeah.
And then obviously Poor Things, which got all the Oscars, right? So
Yeah.
you did
Yeah.
Goofy, right? So that was a music video, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an interesting director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps making movies. Like that's like a lot of these guys just like make a movie every 4 years. Like he's proficient. He just keeps
Yeah.
making.
I mean, Ridley Scott is coming out with another movie.
Yeah, he's like yeah, like
He's a
that's
machine.
some of these guys. I think it's like Eastwood, right? They just want
Yeah.
they've been on set their whole lives. They don't know how to not to be on set, right? So
Yeah. Hey, they're still making movies. They're going to be like 200 years old and
No,
still
you know
make.
what I mean, though, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
they have to make movies.
yeah. They
Without
have
they
to
don't
make a
know that.
living. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like the
it's good.
person who retires like after their 40-year career, right? And then they drop dead the next week.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's like that's
yeah.
like Ridley. Like how old is he? Like 70, he must be like 75, 80 years old,
I
right?
think he's 87.
He's 87.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure
God.
he's 87.
See. And
He's
then
still making movies.
and here you Americans are worried about Biden. This guy's making these $100 million films, right? In
I
87.
know. He's pretty good at it, you know. If Eastwood can still make movies in his 90s, I think Biden's going to be okay. So,
Well, yeah, I guess for the next
yeah.
few months, I guess, right?
Yeah, fingers are crossed.
Fingers across. All right, man. Well, I would highly suggest that you make another movie, but don't take 15 years to do it.
I
So
I will try not to. I'll try
I
not
think
to.
you got a very interesting point of view, and it seems like your parents are your mentors in many
Yeah,
ways. You reference it, like you go to them to get some talking points, and
yeah,
it seems like they're helping you out. You're on the right track, but
yeah.
be these proficient, be the Ridley Scott of experimental or short films, right? Just kind of just
Okay,
keep chugging them out.
definitely. I'll try.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, man. Well, great talking to you. Great
Great
film.
talking.
It's a fascinating subject, and you really nailed it. So
Thank you. Thank you
good
very
luck with the
much.
rest of the festival circuit.
Thank you.
Thanks.